Despite no longer playing Superman and departing from the Witcher series, Henry Cavill seems to be reigniting his stardom this year with 2 movies. Argylle, directed by Matthew Vaughn, has just been released, and we have now got our first look at Guy Ritchie's The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Personally, I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill, and he seems to have this classic Hollywood movie star. And despite no longer playing an iconic hero like Superman, I feel like his stardom is just gonna go from strength to strength over the next few years. I know he's also going to star in the Highlander reboot directed by John Wick director Chad Stahelski, and he's also working on his own TV series based on Warhammer 40,000, which he's a massive fan of. Henry Cavill is also rumoured to be a contender to play James Bond when the series is rebooted, although he was considered for the role back when Casino Royale was being made. I think a lot of people have commented that his performance in Argylle is very James Bond-esque, so that could lead to him landing the role of James Bond in the near future. However, for now we've got Argylle and the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. So Guy Ritchie bringing us films such as Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and then moving on to stuff like Aladdin, which is more mainstream and moving away from like his cult British director gangster movie persona. But this seems to be something in between the traditional Hollywood movie and something more akin to the cult classics that Guy Ritchie has directed over the years. Personally, I think a lot of people have commented on this, what I've seen, have spoken about the trailer. This does remind me a lot of Inglourious Bastards, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Not that this is a carbon copy. This is based on a true story on Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was a real organisation, I believe was set up by Winston Churchill, and it's sort of the predecessor to the Special Air Service, which is, the SAS is Britain's special forces. So if you're American, it's more like the Navy SEALs, I guess. And across this trailer, it does look like there's a lot of comedy, and I feel like Henry Cavill does stand out to do comedic roles just from seeing him in this trailer, which I don't feel like he's really done before. But I feel like it's appropriate for him to do as an actor, and I think he can carry it off. As I said, he's got this classic movie star quality to him that I think that makes him so appealing as an actor and a performer. Most people I know are a big fan of Henry Cavill. They like just his persona online, how he's a bit of a nerd with Warhammer, and also he's really into gaming, and that's what got him involved in the Witcher TV series on Netflix in the first place. And across this trailer, I don't feel like it's going to take the war too seriously. It looks like a lot of fun, and there's a lot of humour in it, and it's going to probably have a dark sense of humour similar to what we got in Inglourious Bastards, but I still feel this will have the style of Guy Ritchie across it. And there's other cast members other than Henry Cavill. Notably, you have Alan Ritchson, who is portraying a character apparently called Anders Larsen, and in the trailer we see this character use a bow and arrow. And there was a real-life historical soldier in the Second World War called Jack Churchill, or called Mad Jack, and he was known to he became an officer in the army, and he went across Europe, and I believe he was part of this squadron of the Ungentlemanly Warfare. I'm not too sure though. If you look Jack Churchill up online, you'll see that he's got quite a unique story. But he was known for going into battle with a bow and arrow, a claymore sword, and bagpipes. And in this trailer, we see Alan Ritchson's character using a bow and arrow. So I thought he was going to be playing Jack Churchill, but I've looked up, he's playing this character called Anders Larsen. And he's clearly, as this is based on a true story, I feel like maybe he's going to be based on the real life Jack Churchill. Notably, in the IMDb credits as well, it says Ian Fleming is portrayed by Freddie Fox. And Ian Fleming was a spy during the Second World War and after it, and that's what led him to go and write James Bond. But notably, Ian Fleming's cousin through marriage was the actor Christopher Lee. And Christopher Lee, I believe, was actually part of this Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. He was born in 1922, you just had to look up anything on his life about how he was able to witness the last public execution in France. He climbed Mount Vesuvius, I think, just before it erupted. He hunted war criminals after the Second World War. He was in this squadron and the SAS, and then obviously went on to become a movie star. And he also knew the assassins of Rasputin. So I don't know if there's going to be a homage to Christopher Lee in this, or any of the characters in this are going to be based off Christopher Lee. I think that'd be quite a cool, interesting reference. People have even said that the early life of the actor Christopher Lee, who you may best know for playing Count Dooku in Star Wars or Saruman in The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but his early life would make an interesting film in its own right. So maybe he's going to play into this movie somehow. They might have a reference to him. If they've got Ian Fleming, who was his cousin through marriage, I reckon they may have a cameo of someone portraying Christopher Lee who would have been in this squadron, which I think is quite cool. But whereas something like Inglourious Bastards was the American version of this sort of story, I think having a British director tell this story based on true events will be quite interesting, and having a movie star like Henry Cavill star in the lead role certainly get people excited. I feel like, as I mentioned earlier, that he kind of seems to be a bit more unhinged in this, and it's like more of a comedy. He's a comedic character, so seeing Henry Cavill play a comedy role will be interesting. And I've not seen Argylle yet. It's only coming out today, I believe, and I'm sure these films will both do very well, and I feel Henry Cavill's movie star status is going to be cemented this year through the two films that are coming out. I'm not too sure if he's got anything else coming out later this year. He may do. I haven't really had a proper look at his IMDb page, but IMDb can be inaccurate sometimes. But as I mentioned earlier, also with the Highlander reboot and the Warhammer 40,000 TV series that he is working on. And I believe, so Matthew Vaughn, who directed Argylle, directed the movie Layer Cake, and I believe that was a project originally given to Guy Ritchie, but he turned it down, and that's what led Matthew Vaughn to becoming a filmmaker, because I think Layer Cake was Matthew Vaughn's first movie. He may have done a few things before, but that was his first major movie. But across the trailer, I'm sure this film is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope people can get behind it. And I do like the fact that it is a British film. It's clearly got some Hollywood influence in it, but I do like to see the films of Guy Ritchie. The early films, Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, are great pieces of cinema. And obviously I do like his film The Gentleman, which came out quite recently, and that does have a British tone to it, which I do like to see, because I feel like a lot of Hollywood movies are just very Americanized. So I do like to see these big budget films represent British culture in some sort of way, even if it's going to be for a over-the-top, action-packed parody World War II movie. And this movie comes out in April 19th, and I'll be sure to watch it when it comes out in cinemas. So that's my thoughts on the trailer overall. I didn't go into too much detail about breaking it down because, well, there's several images across the trailer which I know aren't very YouTuber friendly, so I haven't included them in this video. Let me know if you're excited to see this movie in the comments below. Give this video a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure to click the bell icon to receive notifications for all of my videos. That's it for now, thanks for tuning in.